I'd like to call our Thursday, October 3rd, 2024, Forsyth Area Schools School Board meeting to order. Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Yes. Member Riverline?
Here.
Member Corcoran? Here. Member Hagelin?
Here.
Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Apio?
Here.
Member Christensen is here, and Member Tyson is absent.
All right, and let's start with this pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. All right, do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda? So moved. Second. Any discussion?
Move to strike action items 8.3 and 8.4.
Second. Discussion?
I just seeing that Member Tyson is absent tonight, and this being one of the most consequential decisions this body is going to make in probably many years or years to come, that's going to affect students, staff, families. I just think that with Member Tyson having as much experience on this board as she does, being an incumbent running for re-election, it's very important to have her voice heard and her opinions and thoughts on this heard for such a consequential decision.
Well, I couldn't disagree more. Although I would love it if Member Tyson was here, the timelines for these items become critical, and then you wind up pushing it out even further. And I don't think that that's doing any good service to the public.
And I would just say that, you know, one of the concerns we heard at the different meetings we went to is that the timeline is short, and I wouldn't want to shorten that anymore.
I think Member Hagelin makes a great point. I think Member Peterson and Member Raphael do as well. One option that we would have would be to do a special meeting early next week, as long as we comply with the notice period. And I would be willing to come in for another meeting.
Yeah, me personally, I prefer to just, we've got everybody here tonight. I believe we can get it done tonight. Any further discussion? Okay, so we're going to take a vote on whether whether we are going to amend the agenda. So a yes vote is to amend the agenda. So all in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No.
No.
Okay, so we come back to the agenda. Any further discussion on the agenda? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
All right. Scheduled and unscheduled visitors. Member Parker, the listening session.
We had a few people visit us today. We had about 4 people. Just roughly about kind of just touching base. No real concerns regarding the agenda tonight. Just some questions about the possible unisex bathrooms. And someone just came to listen, and just a staff member just came in to say hello. And a 7th grade teacher came in just to kind of talk to us a little bit about her experience and how middle school is going. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Student achievement tonight. All we have is positive happenings. Anybody?
Just a couple things. We just had homecoming this past weekend, which maybe some others want to discuss, but the football team won, which was really exciting. But was even equally exciting is the student council and the royalty court raised $12,373.25 for the Invisible Wounds Project, which is a local nonprofit with its mission to support and positively impact and enhance the lives of those who have or who currently serve. So that was really wonderful. And I should also mention it was a very short time frame, maybe like 10 days or something like that, that they raised that much money. So that was wonderful. And I also just wanted to say that today, the Forest Lake Middle School started day 1 of 3 of their grade 7 Courage Retreat today. So that was really exciting. I was working at the high school today and saw all the 7th graders come in, and they just were very excited, and it was just really positive. It's put on by a nonprofit, a nonpartisan organization called Youth Frontiers. And it helps our new students transition to the middle school building, and they have kind of team building things that they were doing together. So that was really exciting and a great thing that we're doing for our middle schoolers. So thank you.
And I would just like to, I got an email from somebody I've known a long time, and he says, and he commented, Forest Lake technician programs provide real career, he's talking about his son. And he said, Forest Lake technician programs provide real career opportunities for Forest Lake grads. My son is currently in an apprenticeship with the Millwrights Local 548. Entered the trade right out of high school. He's in Shreveport, Louisiana, working on a powerhouse project. His first week on site, he worked 91 in 7 days, including double time pay on part of Saturday and all day Sunday. His starting wage was $27 and on the check, and over $60 an hour with 2 pension funds and a union health care package. Take-home pay of $2,600 the first week after taxes. That's a middle-class living that can support a family. You handed him his diploma a couple of months ago, and I just thought that was a really nice thing that was pointed out. So, any other positive happenings? All right. Reports, workshops, and conferences.
On Sunday, October 13th, from 4 to 6:30 p.m., there is a presentation being given at the Faith Lutheran Church here in Forest Lake, and it's called Screenagers, the next chapter addressing youth mental health in the digital age. And some of our administrators from the middle school and I believe the high school are going to be doing some presentations during this. It's open, free to the public, so if you want to find out some more information, you can see me after the meeting, or I'm sure others have. It's again called Screenagers, Sunday, October 13th, 4 to 6:30 p.m. at Faith Lutheran Church here in town. Thank you.
All right, thank you. 916, Member Tyson is not with us tonight. Buildings and grounds.
I'll take that. At the last Buildings and Grounds Committee, we had an update on the new boilers that were installed in the high school. The old ones were 50+ years old, so those are going to be up and running here. There were boiler parts that were able to be saved to be used at the Ed Center. And the new gas line is going to be run by Xcel Energy over the MEA break. There's new turf being installed in the mezzanine at the high school gym. And then the phase 2 is going to be coming up with the AC, locker room remodel, and the bathrooms. And then at Forest View Elementary, the rooftop units needing repairs of about $17,000. There's at the Ed Center, there's air compressor failure in the rooftop air handler. Columbus Elementary School, we're still having issues with the chloroform testing. I don't know, Superintendent Massey, if that's been
We're
resolved.
still working our way toward a clean test. So.
But Principal Fox has been managing through that and doing a good job keeping everything up and running there. And then the maintenance well was completed and working so that the retention pond, we're able to water our ball fields if we ever have any dry periods again. Now that we have the well, we probably won't get it again, but at least it's there in the future. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. And I would say I made a mistake. I've got a green card. I should have called them during scheduled, unscheduled visitors. Tessa Antonsen, would you like to come up to the microphone? Yeah, I apologize. That was my mistake.
Excuse me. So my name is Tessa Antonsen. I live at 15041 Potomac Street, Northeast Columbus, with my husband and 3 boys. Our experience with Forest Lake Area School District has primarily been with Lino Lakes Elementary and the middle school. In the spirit of transparency and full disclosure, I want to add that I'm currently running for one of 4 open seats on the school board this fall. So I wanted to start by just reiterating the strategic plan, mission, vision, and start with that. Our mission being to prepare and empower every student to thrive in and contribute to an ever-changing world. The vision of excellence for every student every day, and that we believe educational equity is the foundation of everything we do. So the main topic tonight I wanted to speak on is Reimagine 2025. as well as mentioning Title IX if I can fit it all in 3 minutes. I am not a fan of the Reimagine 2025 plan. Being a K through 6 educational district was a big draw for me here, and I know that it was for other people. I've watched several school board meetings and attended our own elementary school board meeting on this, or school meeting on this topic, where it was presented as a great learning opportunity where the 6th graders will get access to the gateway experiences offered at the middle school and have the chance to explore their interests with extracurriculars. And I can tell you that the most excited person in that room was a teacher who would be moving to middle school, where they would have access to more teaching supplies and an opportunity to specialize in their area of choice. The teacher assured the concerned parents in the room that in her 10 years of wisdom, she knew that these kids were ready. And I have to wonder if perhaps that teacher has some biases to evaluate. I'm not convinced that 6th graders need more academic rigor. What about simply meeting the standards? And how about exceeding them? What about more free time, playtime? They currently get 15 to 20 minutes a day of recess. What other options might the board look for if they were to see our district uniquely positioned to market that they recognize the significance of letting kids be kids for just a year longer, taking that year to truly ensure they're academically prepared for the next step, provide them with opportunities for leadership much the way we do with Webb and Link. It is my opinion that Forest Lake Area School District is making a mistake by simply following the crowd and not seeing this as an opportunity to attract more students, families, and teachers to the district. Was there even an attempt to look at the district boundaries and try a different approach? Instead, it seems that the board will continue and the schools will pass on their educational failures to the families and continue pushing kids to do more earlier. We have already forced them to grow beyond their developmental readiness with the recent introduction of gender ideologies and DEI initiatives that further confuse them about their own heritage, how they actually feel about themselves, what they can and cannot say, not to mention the invasion of screens into our kids' learning is now front and center, with our 5th graders being strapped with Chromebooks. Why? I refuse to accept that that particular instance is for their benefit. There are just too many studies available proving that our increased reliance on screens for learning is damaging our kids and actually decreasing the quality of their education. Yet here we are. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, City of Forest Lake, Member Christensen.
Excuse me, I was not able to attend the City of Forest Lake meeting.
All right.
Sorry.
Communications Committee.
Yeah, so the Communications Committee met. We had an overview of the committee and its purpose, being our first meeting back, and then we had quite a bit of discussion on the survey for Reimagine 2025, which came, at that point, was fairly well split on those pro, those against, and then a bunch with feedback, but not either for or against.
Community Ed.
Yes, I went to the Community Ed meeting on September 16th, and the main topic was an overview of the aquatics program. We went and took a look at the pool, a little bit of a tour. And one thing they did mention is that through the school, we have a really reasonable priced lifeguard training that students can go through, and it is a great first job, and they're always looking for new lifeguards. You can even start at age 14 with training and that, so they were encouraging to get the word out about that, so thank you.
All right. Curriculum Instruction and Equity Committee. Member Reimagine.
Yeah, I apologize, I was unable to attend a couple weeks ago, my son was in the hospital.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, Member Corcoran, were you there?
It was not.
All right. And Policy Committee, Member Christensen or Member Reimagine.
Well, I usually count on Mr. Reveline. Member Reveline to do the report. I forgot you weren't here. It was a great meeting, and we talked about a lot of really important stuff, and I'm sorry I didn't write it down. And it wasn't-
I can summarize because it's on our agenda
Thank you.
later this evening.
After you.
We have some first readings, the special education records. Of course, the Title IX non-discrimination policy, which saw some major overhauls due to some changes in both state and federal laws, or directives, I should say, from the federal level, not a law change. And then, no, that's not a policy. So those are the two that have come to us for the first reading tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
And then staff welfare, I believe we discussed the Reimagine 2025. And superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to give a big shout out to the high school staff member. Christensen mentioned homecoming. That is a monumental week in terms of the demands on the high school staff. Mr. Caldwell, Principal Caldwell and his team, beginning on Sunday night with, well, actually I think Friday night with a movie, and then you got the flag football on Sunday night and events throughout the week, including the Spirit Bus on Wednesday of that week that tours, I don't know, 150 plus kids in the band to all of our elementary schools and the middle school and the community school. Just connecting across the district, the excitement for homecoming and being a ranger and all that exciting stuff. And kids, I was at a couple of the elementaries earlier that day, and the maroon and gold across the district was really exciting. So great job to the high school staff. I'd like to recognize the EMS, FLPD, Forest Lake Fire, Washington County for their response yesterday afternoon when we had our bus accident. Their swift and immediate response is reassuring and extremely impressive. Fortunately, we had minor bumps and bruises on a few kids. We had a driver taken to the ER and has been released and is making a full recovery. So we're very fortunate to have made it through that, and in no small part to the great effort on the EMS and FLPD and fire and Washington County and their response. So thank you to them. A quick update on enrollment. We have now met October 1st, which is a critical date in tracking and monitoring enrollment. We set a budget number each year factoring the anticipated enrollment. We are currently 103 students above the budgeted number that we set for the year. This is actually 74 students above where we were at this time last year with anticipated enrollment. So very exciting trend with enrollment, and if we sustain that, that will bode well for kids who are attending our schools most importantly, and from a budget standpoint as well. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, do you have any items 7.1 through 7.4 that people would like pulled? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, action items. 8.1, donations.
Got the donation form here. We had a $750 donation from ActFX Millwork for the Career Launch Program. We had a $500 donation from the American Legion Auxiliary 225 for school supplies for general use. We had $20 from CAF America for Lina Lakes Elementary STEM School. For general use, we had an instrument donated by Gary Levine, orchestra, band use, cello, stand, and case, valued at $600. We had t-shirts from the Drolson Family Foundation for Forest Lake Area Schools Community Education Youth Service Club for a value of $567. We had school supplies from Hosanna Lutheran Church for the Rangers Supporting Rangers backpack school supplies for district families in need, which is a total donations of $1,270, and I move we accept.
Second. Any discussion? Just a big thank you to everybody who donated. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 8.2, Forest Lake Area staff retirement notices. We have retiring Connie Ramberg, administrative assistant to administration, following 11 years. And so do we have a motion to accept the retirement?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
I
Yes?
just want to wish Connie the best retirement. She was great to work with, and
Yes.
yeah, she kept us in line for a long time. So I wish her well and enjoy her retirement.
Yeah, and always a smile on her face when we came into the office. Yeah.
That's right.
All right, with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 8.3, Reimagine 2025, reconfigure the middle school to include grades 6 through 8. And I think the way unless people have reservations, superintendent's gonna give a presentation. During that presentation, different people will be speaking. Then when they're done, I think we'll have a period where we have questions and we can ask all the questions until we run out of questions. And then we'll put a motion on the table. And then when the motion at the table, we can argue if we want to continue arguing. I mean, discuss. Yeah. Discuss the topic and then we'll finish it off. But just kind of break it up into questions and then discussion. So, Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to invite our presentation team to the table. Principal Miller, if you want to grab the mic there, and we'll make sure the sound is. So the team here are folks that people around this table know well. Director Renberg Heidi, middle school principal Jason Miller, Director J.P. Jacobson, and middle school counselor Amy Needham. So thank you guys for being here. And we have a number of slides, and they will carry some of those slides as we get into the presentation. As we get started, I would just take a moment and pause here and point ourselves to, we have been talking for the better part of a year and a half, close to 2 years, as we have examined enrollment, as we've examined structure, that there are things that are necessary, I would contend, and exciting opportunities for kids in front of us. And in order to give us a moment of pause, I've asked our system to kind of back up and think from a visionary standpoint and a proactive standpoint about what do we envision as we move forward as a district in alignment with our strategic plan. And as we have considered the two options that are on the agenda tonight, we do that from the perspective of envisioning the next 5 years or so for the district as we begin to shape and structure the district moving forward. So that's where Reimagine comes from. It's an opportunity for us to be thoughtful, deliberate, planful, and visionary in the work. And as I'm sure you would expect, the community would expect, there are a set of guiding principles that have driven this plan and the next plan on the agenda. First and foremost, and as anybody would expect, certainly in alignment with our strategic plan, our efforts in everything we need to do needs to support, expand, build upon, foster student learning. That has to be our first guiding principle, and if not our foremost guiding principle. In addition to that, our district is blessed to have the incredible opportunities across our system. Thinking about the incredible career pathway opportunities, elective opportunities at the high school, those extend down into and through the middle school and even into our elementary school. So as we plan our way forward, we want to make sure that we support and expand opportunities for kids. We know that what gets one student out of bed in the morning is going to be different than another student. And the more diverse and expansive and comprehensive our system is, the more likely we are to tap into all the various kids that we serve in the school district. We also know that an elementary student is not a middle school student. An 11-year-old is not a 13-year-old. A 6th grader is not an 8th grader. So we need to make sure that we are very cognizant of, aware of, and supportive of the developmental needs of the kids that we serve at every level and every step throughout our system. And we also know that we are not blessed with unlimited resources in the school district. And with the resources that we do have, we need to be stewards of those resources and maximize operational efficiencies. So with that in mind, the proposal that we will walk through here and that we are presenting to the board tonight is for the 25-26 school year to reconfigure middle school grades to include 6th grade students, thus becoming a grade 6 through 8 middle school. As we have moved from the original presentation, first of all, workshop in July, and then an initial presentation in August, we spent the month of September engaging with the community at these various community meetings and PTO meetings across the district Not listed here are all the staff meetings in all of our buildings that we have provided this conversation and this presentation as well. We have had over 25 meetings across the district, engaging the staff, engaging the community, and of course engaging our families and parents. So it's been a really busy September and have received a lot of valuable input. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Principal Miller to take the next couple of slides.
Thank you. The inclusion of sixth grade at the middle school, we feel, has a number of really powerful core advantages that we want to highlight with you this evening. And again, we'll elaborate on these throughout our slides. First and foremost, the current program at the middle level, the comprehensive and robust middle level program that we offer our students, academics, the co-curriculars, and the other experiences that we offer for our students is something that is unique, and I think something that we do really, really well here in Forest Lake. Increased academic, exploratory, and co-curricular opportunities for our students. As Dr. Massey has alluded to, and in conversations we've had over the course of September, we know that within our gateway experiences, within our strong course of study, these are things that we can leverage to advance and enhance student learning for our sixth graders, in addition to the current seventh and eighth graders at the building. We have subjects taught by disciplinary specialists. We often talk around the standards at the state level, which are banded 6th through 8th grade. Typically, when we think of the standards, they're K-5, and then 6-8, and then 9-12. And having those standards taught by people who are passionate about middle level learners, who can specialize in the content that they're teaching, and to really dig deep and expand that learning for our students is a key core advantage. And as Dr. Massey also mentioned, being developmentally appropriate and also enhancing our students' agency, so that way as students transition from an elementary experience to the middle level, and then ultimately from the middle school to the high school, our students are building a set of skills and knowledge and areas where they have that degree of independence, and they have the skills, they know how to capitalize on those to really become sort of that point person for their educational experience, to make the choices as they move to the high school around the career pathways that they're going to dive deeper into and explore further, and to really explore those areas of passion and interest. We also have opportunities to expand instructional time within our content areas. Right now in our 6th grade current model is that, and I highlight science and social studies here, our students receive around 20 minutes of science or social studies on a particular given day. And as somebody who's passionate about science instruction, we're always looking for opportunities to find more time for students to be spending that learning those really essential skills across different content areas in these two areas as well. And then opportunities for enhanced academic acceleration and for support. Again, looking at what we can do at the middle level in terms of accelerated learning opportunities in mathematics and English and areas where students are ready to take on rigorous and challenging experiences, and for students who maybe are struggling on a particular skill or concept or within a particular content area, the ways that we can provide support for those students, again, with our schedule, with the diverse sets of experiences that we offer, with the capacity of our schedule to be able to offer a number of different courses that align to those unique needs for each of the students that we are supporting. In addition to those kind of core advantages, there are additional advantages. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Sorry, Steve. Additional opportunities and considerations that I think are important for us to highlight. We've already sort of alluded to the idea of expanded academic experiences in the areas of science and in social studies. For us, when we're designing this experience for our students in 7th and 8th grade, and if the board approves our 6th grade students, we're looking at how we can expand those academic opportunities in areas outside of the core of instruction of math, science, social studies, and English, and what we can do for students in areas to explore their passions and their interests. We're also looking at opportunities and the things that we can offer for students through co-curricular experiences.
Can I ask you to explain co-curricular, what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. Co-curricular, extracurricular experiences such as the musical or play, our FFA club, and the things that we can offer at the middle level for our students that at times at the elementary level, sometimes are difficult to do based on the capacity sometimes of those programs. Opportunities for movement. In some of our presentations, I would joke that we could put a playground at the high school and we'd see seniors outside, swinging or on a teeter-totter. We know that students need to move. We know that students need that opportunity, whether it's during the day in a physical education experience, which happens in the middle school on a regular basis more frequently than it does at the elementary level, or at lunch to be able to have an opportunity to connect with their peers and their friends, to get movement during the day. We know how critical that is, and that's something that is core to our design. And support for the arts, both not only the visual arts, but also the performance arts and music. These are areas that, again, we do really well, and we offer an opportunity to enhance and expand beyond what our students currently have at the 6th grade when they're currently housed at the elementary level. We also are going to be working to maintain our core teaming model. At a middle level, when we talk about middle schools, one of the sort of core pillars of a middle school is how we make and we support students through that transition to the high school by making a larger school feel small. One of the ways that we do that, and middle schools do that, is by designing students in an instructional setting around a team where the 4 teachers that teach math, science, social studies, and English share a small number of students. Allows those teachers, along with their grade level or their team counselor, Amy Needham is here tonight to talk a little more about that, allows them to be able to meet on a regular basis to talk about things that are happening with their students academically, behaviorally, and provide support for those students during the day when we see students that are struggling, and also to recognize and highlight students that are doing great things and representing what it means to be a ranger. This year, our wall of flames, we're calling it, a little E for flames, is our student recognition model that we use in a way to really highlight the great things that our kids do at the middle school. With our 6th grade students, and I'll show you an image here in just a few slides, but essentially, again, when we're looking at how we do this, our current structure is that students are housed in one of the 3 different wings. There are 4 total wings in our building. They're there for the 2 years that they're with us currently. When we look at 6th grade coming to the middle school, our plan is to have those 6th grade students housed in the same wing for that transitional year of 6th grade. Again, creating a really special and unique transitional year for those students while they're at the middle school. And lastly, before I hand it off to our JP Jacobson, our Director of Teaching and Learning, is the opportunities that a 3-year experience at the middle level brings front to around expanded leadership and relationship opportunities for students to build community. We often feel that our students who we care so much about are transitioning either to us or they're transitioning to the high school. We know that when our students are with us for the 3 years, not only do you see things happening like today with our Courage Retreat and our web leaders providing leadership, but students over those 3 years begin to develop a deeper sense of ownership for their experience, their learning for one another in the building, their opportunities to enhance those leadership experiences over the 3 years, is a really powerful consideration for what our middle level has to offer for our 6th grade students. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Director Jacobson to talk a little bit about our course of study.
And JP, could you just explain what you do for here, what your job is here?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning. So one of my roles is to help oversee the academic program that we have in the school district. I'm actually also a former middle school educator and principal here in Forest Lake, so I'm super familiar with the middle level years. And one of the things that we have, that we do every year in our district is that we welcome students from the elementary school, and we serve as the bridge at the middle level between elementary and sending them on to the high school and in a position to be really successful. And a few years ago, as a school district, we really did some rethinking in how we wanted to do that in such a way that we aligned ourselves with the career gateway, the career pathway fields over at the high school. You can see on the left there are 6 areas. These are areas in which our high school organizes their academic departments. And one of the things that we changed here in the middle level in Forest Lake is we have what we call these gateway experiences. You've been hearing that term a number of times. What is a gateway experience? And it's an opportunity for students at the middle level to take courses in each of those career areas and decide, I really like that. And I'd like to take more courses in that area. Or, something, I was curious and I decided that, maybe that's not for me. And to be able to do that in the sheltered environment at the middle school and at a time where it doesn't necessarily take up one of my high school credits. And we thought that this is a great opportunity for kids to be able to explore those career experiences without having a job application or a job interview, but really seeing what the opportunities lie in front of them. And again, that is our goal, is to take students from elementary and prepare them to be really successful in grades 9 through 12. And the concept before the board tonight is to give us permission to do that and bridge that middle level experience over 3 years instead of trying to complete it in 2. If you could go back just one slide, please. The other thing that we've really leaned into this notion is that students are thinkers. They like to create, they like to work with their friends and in small groups. And so all of the courses that we've developed, particularly these gateway courses at the middle level, have kids doing their learning that way. It's highly engaging. It has our students leaning forward over their desks when they're learning something new and collaborating. And so that's really what our 6th graders have in store for them, again, if this goes through tonight, and that our 7th and 8th graders will already do at the middle level. When you look at the classes students would take in 6th grade at the middle school, Principal Miller mentioned that all of our, we would work to organize all of our 6th graders in one wing of the building, and they would take their core classes, those classes being math, English, science, and social studies in that general vicinity. They would be interacting in the hallway with other 6th graders and other 6th grade teachers as they go to those particular classes. Some of the benefits to being able to have all of our 6th graders in one area is that we can offer honors options in a lot of our areas, including English. So students who are ready to go further and faster would have that opportunity while still meeting the programming needs for those students who are right at grade level. The same could be true, would be said for math. A 6th grade math would be a course that most 6th graders would take. It's grade level standards, designed for students that are, sufficient, doing well, but opportunities for support if I need extra time or attention. But then we would be positioned to also offer up to twice accelerated math for 6th graders who are ready for that. Earth science, as Principal Miller, would take a little bit more of their day than what it currently does. They'd have more time to dive into labs and to really dig into the sciences, social studies as well. And certainly we would want to make sure that we have kids have an opportunity in Phi Ed and the arts, opportunities for movement, and then of course those elective and gateway experiences that give them an opportunity to really taste everything that is on their academic plate, so to speak. One of the things that we would also be interested in doing is preserving our immersion programming and just academic support in new and unique ways that's just easier to do in a middle school setting.
Thank you. Well, again, as we think about how we're organizing our students at the middle level, not only within how the courses that they take throughout the day, and you saw an example of that, Director Jacobson referenced the idea that students are housed together in a particular space, those core classes happening in that area. This is a nice photograph taken about 400 feet above our middle school. And if you click on the next slide, you'll see a circle that's going to highlight our green wing, or our greenhouse. They don't grow plants there, even though we kind of call it the greenhouse. But that is the location of where we would house our 6th grade students in that transition year. You can see the other 3 different pods that sort of come forward towards the bottom of the photograph. That's the tangerine, blue, and maroon wings or houses, where, again, as we think about how we would team for 7th and 8th grade students, whether they're teamed by grade or they're teamed in our current model, which is where they are in a mixed grade level house for those 2 years, and that's been our model for the last about 5 years as a middle school. That's sort of the physical structure and layout of the particular building. So if you can kind of visualize that wing off to the right, if you were to zoom now into the middle school itself, these are some of the images from that particular wing. We have, again, I think some have said this and mentioned this a number of times, but our middle school is a really beautiful facility. We're super fortunate for the support of the community to be able to offer this sort of a facility for our students. Up there in the upper right-hand corner, you can see what our flex space that kind of overlooks the entrance of the middle school. It's a great place for students to connect, to use academically. It's also sort of a great place for students in between classes just to kind of reconnect with one another. The green wing kind of showing that hallway and what the structure would be. So the students would be within this space for the majority of their day. So again, kind of taking a large school that is able to offer a number of different experiences and opportunities for kids, but making that school feel not quite as big. As well as an image from one of our classrooms. You can see the flexible furniture and comfortable seating that we offer for our students within many of our classrooms at the middle school. And I hand it over. Can you reach?
Perfect. Well, thanks for inviting me at the table. My name is Amy Needham. I'm a school counselor at the middle school for the green team, actually. So the green wing is near and dear to my heart, and yes, it's a beautiful space and has one of the coldest drinking fountains in the school. The most popular one. So, but happy to talk to you tonight about student support and what that looks like at the middle school. We're very proud to have a school counseling model at the middle school, where every student, when they come into us, is linked with a school counselor that supports them in their transition and their needs for the entire duration of their middle school experience. So it's a great opportunity for us to be able to support not only mental health needs, but academic needs, truly anything and everything. We problem solve and find resources and what works best for that student. I think one of the biggest things that stands us apart, I worked at another 6th to 8th grade middle school prior to coming here to Forest Lake. And the transition work and the front loading that we do to make sure students are feeling comfortable in our space and really know what to expect before day one is spectacular. So I could spend all night talking to you about these programs, but some of the ones just to highlight with you is the We Are Rangers Week. When the kids come to us in middle school, we know that we need to start small. So the first week of school, we take it easy. Students are with one teacher in the morning for a long duration of time, and we spend time getting to know each other, answering questions they may have, touring the middle school, practicing the lunch line, practicing lockers again and again, but really making sure students know that this is going to be a great place and people are here to support you. We really lean into our web leaders. I know you've had a presentation on that, so I won't go into great detail, but that's our opportunity for our students that are 8th graders who've been there, done that, and are truly the experts in the building. These are the people our students want to hear from. It's great to hear from their teachers and the staff, but it's really nice to hear from students who can acknowledge, I was right there in your shoes last year, and this is what I learned, and these are the things that helped me, and really be able to showcase our school. We do a lot with tours and visits, so we've brought 7th graders, incoming 7th graders, over to the middle school in the spring before their transition to again welcome them into the building. A lot of our families are used to coming in and maybe being in the gymnasium Phi-Ed section of the building, but really introducing them to the academic side of the building, and again, just getting them to become comfortable with the space and how things operate. We also have the parent information nights, like back to school nights, like traditional in high school as well as elementary, to help answer questions for folks and really make sure that they feel confident on day one through their last day of 8th grade. We have an advisory program at the middle school where students are connected with a teacher for the entire year. So you can think of it as like a homeroom for elementary school, where those teachers not only can build that connection and relationship with students for an entire year and get to know them, but also do some academic monitoring. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's time for students to check their grades with the supervision of the teacher, be able to find out what missing assignments they may have, do they need to retake tests, or are they all caught up and this is their time to do some independent reading. So really great opportunity for us that's built in during the week. In addition to that, on Thursdays during advisory, we've started just last year, it's called Win Time, What You Need. And it's a longer duration, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it's about a 25-minute period. During Thursdays, we have about a 45-minute period for students to get even more academic support from their teachers. The really cool thing about Thursdays is that maybe my advisory teacher happens to be my math teacher, but I need a little bit more help in English. I can go and connect with my English teacher and to be able to get that support I need. So that's been a really cool thing starting last year that we've continued into this year, and I would foresee probably forever, to be honest with you. The next point is, we've talked about this quite a bit, but being somebody that goes into the classroom and really talks to students about their opportunities in middle school, I can't tell you how excited they are to be able to try something new that they've never done before. I have a 6th grader at Wyoming, and I think there was a countdown at my house before she was gonna get her flute, you know, in 2 days, in 1 day, now I'm getting it. To see that excitement of having the opportunity to try something she's never had the opportunity to try before was really exciting for me, and something that I hope my son can experience at an even younger age with more opportunities. In addition to that, we've already talked about clubs, but being able to introduce kids to an art club, to be able to extend, you know, something they're passionate about, or strategy club, another opportunity not only to try something new, but it's a great transition activity for kids to meet other students from Scandia or Linwood that maybe they haven't done so yet. For students that are in special education, we continue those services throughout middle school. It really just is looking at what that student needs, that individualized plan, and creating what works best for them. Through transition meetings, people that know the student now and can speak to them and their needs, connects with people at the middle school to really make sure that that student's set up for success, which would continue into the middle school. And then that last point is just parental involvement. We love having parents involved. When kids get to the middle school, it's not a time to kind of take a back seat. We love parents being in the front seat with us and being engaged with what's going on, because that's how we make sure we have a good partnership, and if their student is in need of something, that we're there to be able to accommodate that. So we got a great program. I'm super excited to share it with you.
I wanted to take a few more minutes too to talk a little bit about some of the different transitional experiences that we have in store for our students this year, as well as we think about throughout the course of the summer and preparing for that transition to their time at the middle level. As Amy shared, and as we've kind of mentioned already, addressing and attending to the developmental needs of our students is essential to the success of a middle level program. It's not enough just to have an amazing academic experience for kids. We have to think about what do we do to address and support the whole student while they're with us. And that begins now in terms of this transition, if the board is to approve. I'm highlighting, we have some of our elementary principals sitting behind me that, as questions maybe arise, that they can speak to, but we're already thinking around what are the things to do to make sure that not only do we have the typical and traditional 6th grade experiences as they transition and milestones to the middle school, but our 5th grade students as well. And our 5th grade students will have those opportunities to experience things like the track and field event at the high school, those other really important capstone events that we know our students in 6th grade celebrate each and every year, and that our 5th grade students are looking forward to, and we want to make sure that those experiences are happening for those students. You can see a couple dates already up on the board for us. 5th grade Tuesday, May 20th, 6th grade on Wednesday, May 21st. And again, just great opportunities, experiences. And again, our elementary principals are already, and with their PTOs and teachers have been having conversations and plans already being put in place, ready to go if the board is to approve this, and all the great things that they're going to do to make sure 5th grade, along with our 6th graders, of course, have a really amazing transitional time throughout the spring of this year. In addition to that, as Amy said, partnership with families is essential to the success of our students academically here in Forest Lake. And one of the ways that we first start doing that for our students as they transition to the middle school is to welcome our families and our students into the building early And you can see on the board, we have 3 evenings currently scheduled specifically for our 5th grade families to attend. And our intention here is to create a small setting where families from Scandia at 6 o'clock, you can see Lino at 7, families from those schools can attend in a smaller setting to really connect with myself, my assistant principal, Sam Van Hefty, our counselors, Amy Needham, Sarah Fisher, Mary Beth Higgins, as well as other representatives from the middle school to talk about what our program has on offer, the schedule, getting that registration process going, answering questions that they might have, offering a tour of the middle school, as well as one of the first steps and stages to this process. 6th grade experiences are the parent and performance nights. They actually happen the following week of these dates on Tuesday the 14th and the 16th, Thursday. And then in addition to that, our counselors, and then the following week, the week of the 20th, begin visiting in classrooms at the elementary school, talking about what does it mean to be a middle schooler, what does it mean to be a ranger at the Forest Lake Area Middle School, walking through questions, concerns, getting them excited, giving them information about the courses and experiences that they have on offer. Amy also mentioned tours as well. Again, our plan this year is to bring our tours for students in 5th grade and 6th grade to the middle school in the spring. We usually do that really near the end of the school year, but an opportunity to tour the building with web leaders a little bit earlier than they would during our web and our We Are Rangers Welcome Week.
Mr. Miller, as you transition, I would just add a piece here that should this be approved, elementary principals are prepared tonight or tomorrow morning, share an email with families about the various experienced 5th grade students can expect yet this year in their elementary school. So a lot of thought has gone into that. Principals are prepared to share some more details with families tomorrow, should this be approved.
Before I hand it off to Director Renberg, a few other things to highlight as well. Again, when we think about the planning that's going in to support 6th graders at the middle school, as well as the experiences that we really want to highlight and celebrate that are on offer for our students, and that's around getting kids engaged in experiences, areas of interest, areas that they want to explore further. We often talk to families when we visit with them for the first time, especially for our rookie middle school families, around this idea that when they transition to the middle school, the friends they bring with them from their elementary experience, the best friends that they have may change over their time at the middle school as they meet new students, and activities such as FFA or Strategy Club going on. You can see we don't actually have a sledding club if you're looking at that middle picture, but we do events. This was an event at Wild Mountain last winter where our students went and with teachers after school. It was part of our RISE program through Student Council, and just had an amazing experience connecting with one another. Just a really great group of kids. As well, our jazz band, our Pops Orchestra, all these different organizations, groups and clubs, and things that students get to participate in at the middle level, that makes that experience something really special for kids and builds new connections for those students while they're with us.
Thank you, Jason. Switching gears now a little bit from instruction into the operational side of things. As Director of Business Services, I oversee the finances along with the custodial, food service, and transportation departments. So starting with the transportation department, looking at the bus routes, knowing that moving the 6th graders to the middle school would move them onto our secondary tier of busing, which is the early busing route. We did a study with the CECL organization in 22-23, and we looked at our 2-tiered model of busing, and we know that we can more than adequately include the inclusion of 6th grade in that 2-tier system. As administration, we've been meeting and going through what those tiers look like. We know that we have charter schools, we know that we have private schools, we know that we have all of our schools on those 2 tiers, and the distribution of that, we'll be looking over that and making sure that we balance the ridership so that bus routes stay a similar length and a similar start time for that. Another area that we know is parent drop-off and pickup at the middle school, and making that easy. easier. And so the administration worked, we've already met with Forest Lake PD, also our traffic engineer from Larson Engineering came over, and we started to evaluate what could those traffic flow patterns look like? How could we potentially change them to increase the efficiency of drop-off and pickup with additional cars coming in there? Some considerations that we've been looking at again is what is that pattern of traffic? Which way is the traffic flowing and how are they using the roads to get around the buildings? Also satellite pickup and drop-off spots, being able to potentially have buses that are a little bit outside the area that parents can drop off at and then get bussed in so they don't have to deal with that parent pickup line or that parent drop-off line. So looking at those opportunities as we continue to go through, again, what can make this transportation area more efficient with additional people in the area. The next area is our food service area. And so again, Paige Albright, our food service supervisor, going into that lunchroom, looking at what could the lunch periods look like and seeing that we really feel like the 5 lunch periods would be an ideal situation with the number of students we have. 2 of those periods could be dedicated to the 6th grade students, again, keeping them separate in the areas, and then smaller groups for each lunch period too. And so making sure we're focusing on having the ability to have students get through the lunch lines in a timely manner and also being in that small group feeling. We do have the free play time, also known as recess, for students during the lunch period. So you'll see a couple of pictures just from this week of students out in that free play time. So typically students get through the lunch as quickly as they can. They love to eat fast. And then once they're done with that, they're off to do these activities outside, get their movement in, and that can be anywhere from 15 or more minutes at that time. So that is our food service plan for operations.
And we will conclude with just a reference to the timeline that we have here. While there are a number of events that you see here highlighted, all that time and space in between those identified times will be filled with all sorts of activities. But just to highlight a few, obviously we're here tonight on October 3rd. Principal Miller has already begun to pulled together a design team, including elementary teachers, administrators, and middle school staff from all departments to be part of the design team. When you think about how do conferences work and how do the different culture things that we put in place at the middle school, having voice and input from our elementary teachers who know these kids best will be part of that. And as was highlighted and shared today, we know that our 5th grade teachers are in the process from the very start of the year preparing kids for 6th grade. And part of that is also from our end preparing for the middle school for that 6th grade experience. We will be doing a lot of work identifying staffing needs, and while we have a sense of how many teachers we will need, we know that our 6th grade teachers will be coming with our 6th grade students. These are teachers who have been working with these kids for years and years, and they know this grade level, they know the content, they know the curriculum, and they will be coming with this group of students should this be approved. Additionally, we've got and was spoken to earlier, the January 20th and the week of January 20th, we'll be engaging with 5th grade families as well as 7th and 8th grade families for next year, identifying student schedules and working with parents on that process. And then, of course, the start of the school year. That concludes our set of slides, and I would end with an administrative recommendation to reconfigure Forest Lake Area Middle School to include 6th grade students for the 25-26 school year, with the middle school therefore becoming a grade 6 through 8 middle school.
All right, do we have questions? Go ahead.
Do you want me to just ask one question like the others, or do we just get all my questions out of the way first?
Yeah, let's trade off.
Okay. First of all, my first question, and I don't know if Director Jacobson, maybe this is best for you. One of the first things we touched on was academic standards. I'm personally not a huge fan of using the MCA scores as our academic standards. What other types of academic standards can we tie our student performance to measure how we're doing, how they're excelling, and how they'll achieve, and how will you achieve those standards and track them.
Other assessments.
Yes,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
assessment. Yeah.
Good question.
So we also have other assessments that we use in grades 6 through 8, fast bridge assessments that we give. It's not tied to Minnesota standards necessarily, it's normed more broadly than that. We give that 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. We also have students, just general performance in the classes that we have, and how they do on their step tests and on their projects, their speeches, their group work that they do, and just monitoring their overall GPA. We do that currently, Member Hagelin, just to kind of make sure that students are moving through their courses and doing well academically through our own lens, not just through the MCA test. We don't wait once a year to make sure the kids are doing well there. And counselors like Ms. Needham and others, and work with the teachers, that if a student is in fact struggling with something, that we intervene more quickly than that. I would say those would be real, two big. And I would say also listening to our kids. Are they enjoying their courses? Are they seeming to learn quite a bit? And we're seeing them carry that into the high school as they register for classes at the high school.
Thank you.
All right, I have a multi-part question here for Ms. Needham. I think primarily, but others may want to weigh in. I've heard a lot of concerns from the community about creating a soft landing for these 5th graders and helping them, and I typically answer them if you need to reach out to Amy Needham. So I was hoping you could speak to the transition plans a little bit, and also looking at this cohort of students and everything that they've been through over their academic career, being thrown into distance learning at such a young age. There's a lot of concerns around remediation, more so than the advancement opportunities that we have. We have an economy of scale in middle school, I think, that lends itself well to that. Can you speak to those 2 points and maybe talk about any potential changes to the counseling model that we have in the middle school, and adding a counselor or changing how you do it right now? I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, just to go back to those transition activities, and like I shared before, I've worked in another 6-8 building, and we knock this out of the park. But I think it just starts with those conversations in the classroom. Students ask questions to us about, what about this and how about that? So we're not having them wait until August to get those questions answered. I think that's a huge part in this. Not only do we go in so that they can make an informed decision on some of the classes that they have opportunities to take, but they also have opportunities to get some of those burning questions answered right away. So I think that's step 1. The communication with us as a counseling department and teachers and parents, I think, is top notch as well. Anytime we're hearing of a student concern from a teacher or from a parent, we're obviously addressing it right away to make sure that we're solving that in the best capacity that we can. So I think our transition activities are bar none, and I think the biggest thing that I think speaks volumes is, you would think the first week of school, we would be bombarded with students being anxious or overwhelmed with the experience. Surprisingly, that's not the case. We still have some students that we know are just naturally going to need a little bit more support than others. But as a whole, because of what we have set up, students are showing us that they're very confident in navigating their schedule, knowing who to go to if they can't open their locker, finding their lunch, and that type of thing. So I think the biggest take-home piece for me is that first week of school goes off really well, and it's not a revolving door in the counseling office. And that just speaks to all that front loading that we've done. Can you repeat your second question?
I'll take pressure off you in answering the next question,
Okay.
which is, what additional support might there be? We know that another group of students, 5th grade coming in, is increasing the student population, and we need to provide additional support. We will spend even more time discussing that. Is it another counselor? Is it a dean that can do some more administrative things to take some of that work? Is it more behavior intervention support? So we'll take a little bit of time initially to analyze that and then make that determination. But there'll certainly be additional support.
And then they'll be ready for the start of school.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question, if I might, Mr. Chair. Kind of piggybacking off of Member Evelyn's question, I have for Amy was, you spoke about students will be able to connect with a counselor and advisor. What plans do you have for students that don't seem to be able to connect with that counselor, feel they have the confidence to tell that counselor or a teacher that they're not getting what they need out of there? How do you work to identify those areas, and what are you planning on doing for those students that aren't able to have that connection and that confidence with that advisor or counselor to get the needs, services that they need?
Yeah, so we developed the needs assessment at the middle school to address that. We spoke at the curriculum and instruction committee last school year, and this is something we're really proud of, and have actually been asked to share and to speak at other county and state locations just because of what we've created. So we have a tool that we use where we gather information from students. We reach out to parents ahead of time to let them know this is what we're doing. We send them a copy of what the needs assessment is. And it gives students a different opportunity who may not know how to, just like Luke said, like start that conversation of saying like, hey, I'm in need of something. We really found that it's an excellent icebreaker because students are able to acknowledge what they may need help with on a computer that gets to us in immediate fashion for us then to be able to address. When we reach out to parents after the needs assessment to say, hey, we did this today and we wanted to reach out to you about, your son or your daughter's, results and that type of thing, they are extremely grateful that this exists because of students who may not know how to approach somebody to say it, but offering it to them in this type of format has been really successful. So we would continue that in the 6th grade as well.
I think, Mr. Miller, you should maybe with this highlight the team time that teachers spend discussing student, just not only academic performance, but other needs as
So
well.
absolutely. So the way that our teaming is structured, and again, one of the cornerstones of a middle level experience around teaming is that we provide time for teachers to be able to connect on a regular basis. We call it student focus. But that's a time and it's facilitated by our counselors because our counseling model is, as Amy said, is where those students are tied to that counselor for the time that they're with us. But to talk about and to look at the results of assessments or data, whether it's academic or numbers of absences or maybe missing assignments, and really looking at what those needs are and then being able to make a plan to address that with the students. And so they leverage the collective of the group to be able to provide that support for our students and use time such as win time or advisory or other times during the day to be able to support those students in, again, whatever they need, academic, behavioral.
So I have a question on, it's really easy for me to see how a kid that's a high flyer this is really gonna be nice for them, right? They're gonna get, I think it's really gonna be nice and for the average student, but for the student that's falling behind, what kind of interventions, how is this model gonna help them?
Yeah, I can speak to that, Amy, if you wanted to add anything when I'm done. Again, what we do is, when we look at that continuum of service, it's kind of a way that I approach that, whether that's from the student who is, like you use this term like high flying, and they're achieving at a very, very, very high level, all the way down to the students that maybe need the most significant support, and everywhere in between, and what that looks like in terms of making sure that we're addressing the individual need for our students. In the middle school right now, that shows up in a number of ways. First and foremost, it shows up in the classroom itself. The classroom educator, just as we see currently in 6th grade at the elementary level, 5th grade and others, to be able to address the need in the classroom with the student, whether that means by flexibly grouping students within a lesson, so that way I can kind of address those particular needs of students, reteaching, might be again specializing some time during our win time. Beyond that, students might need some more support. We often see students struggle maybe with staying organized, getting work completed on time. And in some of those cases, then we offer a separate experience for those students. We use this term guided study hall. It can go by a number of different names, but it's a chance where in a very small setting, usually about 6 students to 1 teacher, that they get that support that they would need. They get kind of a weekly check-in with that teacher during that, where they talk about their goals for the week, the things that they need to work on. The teacher helps teach those organizational skills to help that student be more successful. But again, if we say that student is continuing to struggle after that, then we look to, again, what other additional opportunities can we provide support, maybe through our counseling office, something that might appear more one-on-one, and again, a bit more intense. But again, as we continue to then leverage more support as if the student is continuing to struggle. And ultimately, like we said, that continuous service might engage other members of our staff, maybe through special education and other supports, to be able to make sure that that student is successful.
All right, thank you.
I had just more of a comment. I appreciated the presentation tonight, going through some of the specific areas that a lot of the parents had questions about. I attended 6 of the 9 parent meetings, and a lot of, transportation was a big topic. How to help the kids that are possibly falling behind. And I also really appreciated you talking about, the 6th grade traditions, because there was a lot of parents, and I can empathize with that. I can feel that this is a really great thing, and I'm really excited about this, but I can also feel like, this is tough if you have a 5th grade child. I mean, you don't get to be the big dog, in the elementary school. You don't get these various things that, Mrs. Stegmeyer did her me books all those years, I mean, so I can empathize with that, and I can really feel that. And that came out a lot in the information that we got from the parents. But I just want to say I appreciated that the administration is thinking about that. I know some of the PTOs mentioned at those meetings that they're going to be really trying to include the 6th grade as much as they can. Scandy has a wild walk coming up, and usually the 6th grade designs the t-shirts. Will they let the 5th grade help with that this year if it should pass? So I appreciate that a lot of thought was put into that, because I think that's really important to parents.
Any further questions? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna piggyback off Member Christensen's. Yeah, attending those meetings, it's, I understand change is hard. I mean, it's being the first of anything is always a little scary and a little bit, a lot of anxiety and things like that. But I think, like you said, the questions about the busing, that was a huge thing for people. I mean, dropping kids off, looking at the bus routes. I mean, the administration is really good about listening and trying to take action. And I've been on the board a long time, and when they put something forward, they have done so much work ahead of time before we even, even hear about it, because they know of all the questions that are going to come up. So I do appreciate all the time and energy everybody's put into this already. So I did write just a couple of things, some of the questions.
You've got a question?
No, I just talked,
Okay,
just a
let's
couple
wait.
of things.
We'll have questions, we'll put a motion on the table, and then we'll discuss.
Okay, go ahead.
Question?
I just more of a few comments from the presentation.
Okay, so if it's a question, if it's a comment, we'll just wait until a motion on the table, right?
So,
If it's a
well,
question,
it's
even.
kind of a question.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Principal Miller.
Question.
How can I phrase this as a question?
Jeopardy.
The few slides back, I have to look back to it here now, was talking about the nights that were going to be for the
The 6th grade, or 5th grade
the
families.
5th grade and the 6th grade orientation nights.
Yes.
Would it be possible, good question, to extend those from an hour to either spread them out to different nights or extend the time? Because I feel an hour seems a little bit rushed for parents that are going to be coming in, probably having a lot of questions and also a lot of concern. So would it be possible, or would you consider extending those or changing those times?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That is a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, so again, these are, when we looked at the times, some of this is based off of just our experience with the 6th grade transition that we typically have had in terms of 6th grade to 7th grade. and using that as a little bit of our kind of time frame around that. Something that has been discussed that even connects with this a bit is, again, around connections with instrumentation for orchestra band, and kids that are excited about taking that as a sixth grade student and how we can maybe connect. So this is where we've got things kind of laid in right now, but I would say that there's been, even today, thinking about how that might extend their time in the building. Beyond maybe they're starting at 6, but maybe it extends a little longer because of the time with maybe music and some other things that would happen that evening. Yeah, but great question, yep.
Go ahead. So thinking about, some of the things Member Remline, Member Haglund brought up about those kids had COVID, in kindergarten, first grade, and knowing that we'll have opportunity at sixth grade, what impact will we have class-wise, time-wise, instructional-wise, that would be more supportive for those kids than what they would get in sixth grade?
Just sort of are you asking sort of instructional time within the content area of each content area?
Kind of the core subjects, right?
Yeah.
Your math, science, those pieces.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's part of what we're, when we think about the guiding team, Dr. Massey kind of referenced, we have a team ready to go if the board approves. Our first meeting is on Tuesday after school, and it's a diverse group of educators from the different elementary schools, as well as from our departments and teams within the middle school, to really kind of, again, address just that, in terms of, I think one of our core considerations, the things that we're really looking at is making sure that within our core content areas, science, social studies, math, how do we extend the amount of time that we actually offer those students without extending the school day, but how do we give more time within those different content areas? Currently, for example, our students, take math, science, 45 minutes a day. And I would say as an old science teacher, being able to have a longer period of time with my students to investigate a lab, to respond to that and everything that happens in those spaces, for our math teachers to give time within a classroom to be able to not only just review a lesson and provide that initial instruction, but actually provide more time to address learning needs within the time frame that they have students, is a really important aspect of thinking about how we want to support this work and this transition in terms of what we want to do. And again, that's sort of core to the work on Tuesday. Really some of the first conversations that the team is going to, I'll say, wrestle with.
And I might add, we really know our staff, and we as a leadership team are going to make sure that we put our best people in the best spots. I think if you talk to all of our sixth grade teachers currently, they would say that there is a person in the building that they would point to who has a deep passion and expertise in science. Another person they would say for literacy, another person for math, and so on and so forth. And right now, what we ask of those people in sixth grade, and sixth grade standards are really challenging, is for them to teach it all and do it once and then move on. And what we would be able to do in the middle school is taking our most talented people in certain areas and letting them dive into that all day long. And I will tell you as a former elementary and then later middle school teacher that when I can teach something once, I really hone in on how to reach my learners. And I think that's one aspect to this that we're going to be able to do for sixth grade learners, not just the ones that are ready for something more, but some of the ones that need something more. They just need more time and it touches them in a different way. Those, I think, our teachers are going to be put in a new position in sixth grade to really be successful with them.
All right. One more question.
Go ahead.
Could you, you mentioned that you were thinking about 5 lunches, so that's an increase. How many lunches are there now?
We currently run 3 lunches right now. Yep.
And then you said the 2 extra lunches would possibly be just only 6th grade, so they would have time just only for their own lunch.
Yeah, so there are 2, when we think about the capacity of our lunchroom, when we think about, making sure students can move through that lunch line and get their food quickly, and again, be able to enjoy that time outside or in the gyms, all those things are really, really important. We also know that what we've heard again is thinking about that transition, making sure 6th grade, for example, can have some of those connected experiences And so we've been, again, currently kind of mocking up a couple of different examples of a schedule of where there would be either 5 lunches, 2 would be unique just to 6th grade, or even 6, depending on how we would structure that, in which case, again, there would still be grade peer lunches for 6th grade.
Oh, I think that's great, thank you.
All right, I have a question which many would prefer was a statement after I ask it. But like many of the board members, I was able to attend a lot of the community nights, and a recurring theme for me that happened after the meeting, and this was because parents were uncomfortable to ask it during the meeting, that they asked to address, and I would like for the group here to address is remembering the fact that we have 6th graders coming into the building now. Some of these kids are as young as 10, 11 years old. The current middle school's got some topics. One that Member Haglund and I made a motion on a few months ago, the Open Minds Club, which focuses on things like sexualization, and there's paraphernalia in the middle school that focus on LGBT, and those types of topics that I think we can all recognize are inappropriate for certain age groups. That was one of the concerns that I heard from parents over and over again after the meeting. There wasn't a comfort level for parents to come forward during the meeting. So I will take the uncomfortable seat and I will bring it forward and ask, what are we going to do to reevaluate the appropriateness of some of the content that's presented at the middle school level, taking into account that we now have 10 and 11 year olds in the building.
I can start with an answer to that. We would expect that the content and topics that we engage 8th graders in is developmentally appropriate. And that might be different than what 6th graders would be exposed to. So in terms of posters or literature, we would have to look at that from an 11-year-old versus a 13-year-old. We would want what is provided for a 13-year-old in 8th grade to be developmentally appropriate, just as we would for 6th grade. So we will bring that approach and that lens to that analysis.
Yeah. Okay. With that, do we have a motion to approve 8.3, the administration's recommendation to reconfigure the middle school to include grades 6 through 8? So moved.
Second.
All right, you guys don't get to leave. We can all just ask more questions if you want. And let's open up the discussion. Go ahead.
Again, I just have some comments from the presentation. Going to the community meetings, hearing the presentation multiple times, working with Superintendent Massey and the staff here, I'm comfortable with this because from the standpoint of, I know I've heard a lot of feedback from families that are saying we're rushing this, that we're not putting enough defined plans on the table. But I think what those families don't see is the work that you've already put in behind the scenes, the district staff's put in behind the scenes to prepare for multiple possible scenarios. So as a board member, I have the advantage of knowing that that's happening, whereas the families don't. So I just want to put families at ease, saying that we're not just rushing to this and throwing kids to the wolves here. One of the things I really am encouraged about this move, other than that our standards are built on the 6-8 model, most schools in the state are a 6-8 middle school model. I've even heard of one of my nephews goes to a 5-8 middle school. One of the things that really encourages me most about this is the focus on academic areas by the specialists that you've touched on many times, Principal Miller, that, not that our 6th grade teachers can't teach all these subject areas, but at 6th grade, I've seen it with my own son, his mind is just a sponge right now, and they want to know more, they want to learn more, and I think that's a fantastic opportunity for each day or each period that they're in that subject area, that they get immersed in that even more. I've also heard a lot of feedback from parents about that their child isn't ready, it's rushing them to grow up too quick. I understand their concerns, I get it. I think this is going to build more confident students, more confident future leaders in our country. I think back to when I went to basic training. I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. By the time I got done with basic training, I had to move into my first technical school. I was scared of it because I got so used to the routine and basic training that I didn't want to go to my first technical school, which is only 6 weeks long. By the time I got done with my first tech school and I was moving on to my second technical school, I didn't want to move on because I was used to my first technical school and the routine, and that just keeps, and as an adult that happens. And I think, looking back on that, I think the students will find that same thing, that they're gonna be apprehensive about it. But once they're in it, they're gonna get so used to and comfortable with it. It's gonna really boost their confidence as young adults. The other thing I think that is really a positive benefit of this move is for the elementary principals sitting behind you. They're gonna have more time and more energy and resources to focus on those K-5 students. And it's, for those 5th grade students, it's also gonna build their confidence and their leadership abilities. So I think it's really gonna benefit the elementary principals and the staff at those schools. And I just want to end on I've heard the feedback from the parents about, not now, please wait. A lot of these kids who were affected by COVID, all kids were affected by COVID in some way. That they don't want it to happen to their kid. I understand that. I get it. They don't want it to happen to their child, but if it's not their child, whose child will it be? Because at some point, either we do it now or we get forced to do it when we're not ready or don't want to do it. So I just want the parents to know that I'm not dismissing their concerns. I get it, I understand it, but from all of the detail and information I've presented, I think that our district is really going to benefit from this move, and I'm going to support it.
Yeah, I think, I want to address something that Member Eveline said. And one, they have to be an incredibly gifted student to pass a grade and make 10 years old in 6th grade. Because if they started at 5, they would be 11 by the time they moved into the 6th grade. So we would not have 10-year-olds in the 6th grade.
You're right.
But at a significant time frame in a child's life, right? A year makes a big difference in maturity level at that time frame. And then as far as the clubs and the Open Minds Club that you brought up, if I'm not mistaken, when we discussed that, you have to have parental permission to join those clubs. So it's not as though a student is sneaking into a club that wouldn't be content appropriate for that student, when they would have to acquire parental permission to participate in the club at the middle school. So I don't see it as an issue that, would come to fruition. With that being said, I think there is a lot of benefit to this, and I agree with Member Haglund about, it's always about, nobody likes change. There's a saying in the Carpenters Union, and I'll clean it up from our general president. And he says, nobody likes change except for babies with a dirty diaper. And sometimes even they don't like it, right? But as people, we don't like change very much. And I think that change is always difficult, but if not now, when we're prepared and planning for it, when, right? And so I definitely will be supporting this.
I kind of started earlier, but I didn't have a question. No, I agree. I mean, I think Member Hagen said a lot of great things, a lot of things I was going to say. So thank you for doing that. No, and what I'm most excited about, I just think the opportunities for these kids is going to be amazing. The music opportunities, to be in plays, be in things that they don't have opportunities in 6th grade. I mean, and the leadership roles and this development of maturity they're going to be offered. It's just, I wish they would have had this when my son was going into 6th grade. I mean, the music party alone, that would have been phenomenal. So I just think, reading some of the comments and the feedback from some of the parents, I understand there is concern. I mean, I was on the fence for a long time. I really listened to the parents, and I really care about how they feel. But like I said, someone has to be first, and it's unfortunate, but COVID has disrupted so many people's lives for so long, and I get it. But it also is just, it's not just their grade level, it's every grade level. So being first is gonna be, it's gonna be difficult, but also kind of exciting to be the first ones. I mean, they're gonna set the trend for the future. I mean, that's an exciting thing for our district. So we've made great transitions from the 9th grade to the high school. We've done great things, and I think, like you say, all the time has been spent before we even
had the opportunity to hear about this. I mean, it's been talked about, thought about probably for many years. Ever since the 9th grades left, they've had that space available. So I think I'm excited about it, and I think it's a positive move forward, so I'm going to be supporting this.
All right, I'm going to attempt not to repeat too much of what has already been said. There's so many great comments here. First, I'll thank Member Peterson. Yes, a 10-year-old in 6th grade would be amazing. I did misspeak on that point because the student in question that I was referring to is 10 years old right now in 5th grade. As far as I know, could maybe be having a birthday in a month or so. But no, that's an important distinction on that point, and I appreciate the correction. I would like to dovetail a little bit on what has been said so far, but maybe pivot a little bit. Member Corcoran made mention of these students that struggle to went into distance learning, and now they have this other transition. And maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I see this as an opportunity for those students to be the first ones to go to the middle school and to have access to these new resources. That piece of it right there, I mean, I'm excited about this for a lot of reasons, but I think that piece of it right there is why we need to do it now, instead of waiting a few years. And I've talked to a lot of parents about this, and I've heard the concern, and I understand it. But I think the advantage of the individual learner, if they're struggling in math, and now they get to spend time with a dedicated math teacher, and that's what that teacher does, and that's what they're passionate about, they're going to have a much better chance of helping turn that student around and get them ready and prepared for high school than if they wait an extra year before they have that resource. And then on top of that, students with emotional, I don't even want to call them issues, but just troubles and trouble adapting. I've experienced personally a child with very significant different needs than other students, and I've seen what Amy has been able to do for him and the other students in that class, and I did notice her wearing green tonight, by the way. I think being able to have access to those resources, and I keep referring to it as an economy of scale that we can offer at the middle school, we can't embed that into every elementary school. Funding aside, we wouldn't be able to keep that person in that role engaged and working every day, and we wouldn't be able to keep them interested because we don't have the need at that level that we can present at the middle school. So I look at this, especially for those learners who are struggling that need that extra bump to get them ready for high school. They will be given 3 years of opportunity to get there with the most qualified specialists that we can put them in touch with. So that's probably my biggest reason for supporting this enthusiastically and engaging with all those parents. And that's the number one thing.
I just have a couple of things. I agree very much with very well said, Member Hagelin. I trust our district leaders. They have put in incredible time and effort into making these decisions. And I really appreciate Mrs. Needham's contributions this evening, as well as everyone's too. But she was not present at a lot of the parent meetings, so I think that would have been really beneficial to put a name to a face. But I do want to say just a couple of things. I know it's scary and change is scary, and I understand parents' concerns. I really do. I work at Scandia, and I'm familiar with this group, this 5th grade group, and so I understand that. But I also feel like some of these kids that are struggling, or maybe they're not in sports, maybe they're more quiet, maybe they like art, maybe they like music, they might find their people at the middle school. And I truly believe that. You know, you might be struggling. I mean, the 5th grade at Scandia, I'm just using that as an example because I work there, but you know, it's a small group. And so maybe if I'm a girl in Scandia, I can only be friends with, I don't know, 15 other girls. Maybe I don't like any of those 15 other girls. I don't know. I might get to the middle school and I love band or orchestra, and now I'm in a whole class for 45 minutes or 1 hour, whatever. All these people that love what I love. I just really want parents to, I know it's gonna be hard, but just give it a chance. Just give it a chance. I truly feel like some of these kids are gonna find their people, and they're gonna be happy. So, you know, try to be positive and open-minded, which I know is hard. We don't like change. And one other thing I think that we could have mentioned a little bit more is I know there was a lot of concern about buses, about, oh, my fifth grader can't ride the bus, you know, with the senior. First of all, I'm here to say, if you're a senior, you don't want to ride the bus. You know, I mean, once you get your license, if you can not ride the bus, that's a big deal. So I don't know how many older kids are on the bus. But I also want to say, we've been doing this for a really long time, and maybe Director Remberg-Eide could speak to this. We do bus our charter schools for those that don't know. And so we have had, I don't know, you know, kindergartners riding with potential seniors or older for a number of years. And maybe you could speak to that just a little bit.
Yeah, it's been
Or-
at least a decade,
Yeah.
maybe even longer than that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're very familiar with it. And so our bus drivers are trained and the seating assignments and everything flows. And yes, we're able to understand the different needs of the ages on the bus and make sure that we're accommodating and making sure that we're separating and all of that for all the students. But again, K-12 students on the secondary tier for over a decade.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
I would just say, for my part, I think, you know, at the beginning of the year, I was able to talk to the district staff, and I talked about, you know, academics and options for kids, and you know, helping every student feel like they belong. That's a critical part of what we need to think about as a district moving forward. And I think this just nails it, right? I mean, from an academic standpoint, I think that, I mean, if you focus on science alone, we are going to be able to do so much better, I feel, for those students, where we can have a science teacher there with them, who's dedicated to that, who knows the subject matter. It's just going to really be a nice deal for kids. And, you know, and I knew, I loved science growing up, but it's just, it's really going to be important for kids, I believe, and I think that's true of math too. Is that we're going to get people that really know the subject, but it's not just the subject; it's about how you teach it to that set of kids, right? And that's your specialty, that's important, and when you can get those things right, you know, in the 6th grade, and then you're ready for 7th and 8th, and you know, that's just, I think that's really important. And choices for kids. I know my son was in the 7th grade play. Those plays get a lot better by the time you get to the high school, but I just remember that and just the fun he had. And Member Christensen, I'm really glad you brought up that about when you transition from that elementary to a school where you've got more kids who are your age, you are really connecting with other people who have your interests as opposed to people that you just happen to grow up with, right? And that was really important for my son. And so for 6th graders to be able to get that when their interests are just like expanding, I just think that's really a nice and important. And I think it's, and I don't think it's going to take parents very long to kind of see that that's really adds to the richness of their child's educational experience. And, you know, every child belonging, I think that's something we do really well at the middle school. I mean, kids are learning a lot, they're maturing a lot, but I just feel like our middle school knocks it out of the park in helping a lot of different kids at a lot of different levels, a lot of different emotional places, you know, come together and learn something, get to the high school, and just have, you know, a pretty darn good experience. And so I know that that'll be true for the 6th graders. The other thing too, I think it's important to remember is that they will be 6th graders, right? They were 6th graders at the elementary. They will be 6th graders here. They will have different advantages, I think, with the more targeted classes and the options. But they're still 6th graders, and they get to go through that, and they get to enjoy that time in their life. And it's not like we're saying that these 5th graders have to all of a sudden become 7th graders, right? And that's something I've heard through all of this planning is that experience is important. Last thing I want to say is that for parents, I understand that, you know, that, oh, my son or daughter is going to 5th grade to 6th grade at the elementary. The elementaries are part of a hometown and a community, and you've grown up with or you've gone through with all the other parents and how important it is at the carnival and all that stuff. I'm just going to say that I think that get involved at the junior high. It's a really great place. And where your students are going to be going, if this passes, is one of the nicest places. It's brand new. I mean, that was, what, 4 years old? 5? Time flies.
Time does fly.
28, 17, 18.
Yeah,
was the renovation.
Yeah, it's almost brand new. It's one of the nicest facilities in the district, yep. And you saw the pictures, you see, all the nice spaces, and it's nice and light, and really a nice place. So with that, I'm also in favor of this. All right, do we have any further discussion? If not, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Tyson is absent. Member Eveline?
Aye.
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye, so ayes have it.
Point of privilege. I move for a 5-minute recess.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All vote. Steve just asked the same thing. All right, Member Clerk, you want to take a roll call?
Member Christensen is here, Member Tyson is absent, Member Eveline,
Here.
Member Corcoran. Here. Member Hagelin.
Here.
Member Peterson.
Here.
Member Apio.
Here. All right, action items, 8.4, Reimagine 2025, consolidation of Forest Lake Elementary and Forest View Elementary Schools. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Much like the last item and discussion, we've got a team of folks here that will assist with the presentation and being available to answer any questions that you might have. We have Director J.P. Jacobson, Director of Teaching and Learning, Director of Business Services, Director Renberg Heidi, Principal at Forest View Elementary, Scott Ernest, Director of Special Education, Kelly Wilson, and then Emily Stegmeyer, Principal at Forest Lake Elementary. So you can see here the action item and the specific proposal that we will be discussing. And that is for the 25-26 school year, that being next year, that we would consolidate Forest Lake Elementary School students into and with Forest View Elementary, therefore becoming a pre-K through 5th grade elementary school, with your last action item and the approval of moving 6th grade to the middle school. Again, Forest View Elementary would become, if approved, pre-K through 5th grade elementary school. In order to give us a little bit of context for the need to essentially, through this consolidation, reduce the number of elementary schools in the Forest Lake School District from 7 to 6. Over the last many years, we have been experiencing a diminishing student enrollment, declining enrollment. Through the work of Hazel Reinhardt, a retired state demographer who's got extensive experience statewide and across the Midwest, providing this kind of analysis. It's not an exact science, but she has tremendous experience. She's done 3 studies in Forest Lake with a high degree of accuracy over those number of years. We had a recent study in the previous year, last year, and I'll share some of that data with you here in just a moment. But we know that birth rates are lower today than they have been in the last number of years. We also know that as we've been anticipating that critical transition of an aging population in this country, we now know that we have more 65-year-olds than we do school-age kids, not just in Forest Lake area schools, not just in Minnesota, but nationwide. We also know that the housing mix to accommodate that shifting demographic is also changing. For the younger families, we have apartment buildings. We see that across the community. We also see townhomes and senior developments for 50, 55 plus. And we know that the units being built have fewer kids living in them. And there's just a smaller percentage of households having children and fewer children. Again, not just in Forest Lake or the state of Minnesota, but nationwide. We go back 20 plus years, and we once were a district serving 7,500 students. And today, we started the school year at 5,615 students. The districts, and interestingly, when we look at the age of our elementary schools, and you'll see a slide here in just a moment, we placed elementary schools in the communities that were developing, that were vibrant at that time. And as a result, we have elementary schools in all of our distinct our distinct communities that make up the Forest Lake area school district. And you'll hear me say probably more than once or twice that one of our greatest assets is the fact that we have elementary schools in all of our distinct communities. We are a community-based elementary school system. And I think that is a tremendous asset. This chart just illustrates what I just mentioned for Forest Lake area schools. In the year 2013-2014, we had 6,555 students at that time. And again, this year, we ended last year, and we started this year with a similar number at 5,615 students. And you can see that diminishing enrollment from each of those grade levels. In fact, last year we graduated approximately 450 students. This year we're projected to graduate another 450 students. In our kindergarten class last year and again this year is about 350 students. So you can see that 100 student difference at each grade level. And we're often asked as we have this conversation, where are the students going? And that's why I start with the shrinking demographic. There are fewer kids. When I speak with our local charter schools, their enrollment in the last number of years is not going up. And I'm often reminded of the recent CARE 11 study that showed homeschool enrollment up 10% since the pandemic. In Forest Lake, that's 1 to 1.5%. So it's not that there are the same number of kids and we're losing them to other districts or the charter schools or homeschool at any greater rate. They're just fewer students. That's a look at kind of the historic shift in enrollment. This slide shows you a projection of what enrollment will look like over the next 5 years and 10 years. You can see at the K-6 level, going from the 27-35 projection, or the number from the 23-24 5 years, that number diminishes by close to 1,000 or 100 students, but rebounds at the 10-year mark. So we anticipate that enrollment will stabilize here over the next number of years, 5 to 10 years, and the middle school and high school level will catch up to that stabilization over time. This slide illustrates the year that each of our elementary schools were constructed and the current enrollment in each of these elementary schools. And then I've provided for you tonight the enrollment 10 years ago. Pretty similar at Columbus. Forest View had almost 200 students at Forest View Elementary. Julie, you'll remember that. Member Corcoran. Forest Lake Elementary had more students 10 years ago than we do today. Lino Lakes, as an expanding and growing community, has higher enrollment today than we did 10 years ago. Similar at Linwood. Scandia had close to 400 students 10 years ago. And now with, at any rate, larger student enrollment in Scandia. In Wyoming, look at the difference at Wyoming 10 years ago, almost 200 more students in that footprint, in that school 10 years ago.
How do these numbers change now that we just took action on sixth graders? How many sections of sixth grade roughly? Where do we sit?
Wyoming is at, oh, you're pressing me here. Scandia's at 2, Linwood is at 3, sixth grade, 2 at sixth grade. Lino Lakes is 3, Forest Lake Elementary is 4, Mr. Ernest, or Ms. Stegmeyer.
Yes.
Columbus is 2, and Wyoming, I believe, is 3.
Okay, so we will see some relief from that.
We certainly will. So, as we consider the proposal on the table, that proposal will do a number of things. One, it preserves our community-based elementary schools in all of our communities, including the community of Forest Lake. So we consolidate Forest Lake Elementary with Forest View, and we have a vibrant, thriving, central elementary school in the heart of Forest Lake, serving the community of Forest Lake. Similarly, we have a vibrant, dynamic school in the community of Columbus, Scandia, Lino Lakes, Linwood, and Wyoming. So this proposal doesn't leave any of our vibrant communities without maybe the hallmark of those communities, that being the elementary schools. We have spent time examining building capacities, as you can see with the previous slide, and you'll see here in just a minute, a deep examination of capacity at Forest View Elementary. With the shift of from Forest Lake into Forest View, the net result of that will be about 500 students. And that's in part why I show you the enrollment at Forest View 10 years ago. We had more students 10 years ago than we will with a pre-K-5 fifth grade at Forest View, should the board approve this proposal and this recommendation. We've looked at grade level and classroom configurations at Forest View with a lot of analysis and expertise. We've examined special education needs and resources. We have Director Wilson here to speak to that as well. We also know that in addition to the core academics, kids spend time in physical education, music, as well as media and innovation and arts. We've examined spaces for those programs. And of course, our preschool programming as well. We have a preschool program in all of our neighborhood schools, and we think that's important to the Forest View Elementary program as well. So with that, I'll ask Director Reinberg-Eide to walk us through the footprint and the analysis here.
Thank you. So I just want to go back a minute to talk about, we know that Forest Lake and Forest View have similar square footage, and that came up in our community meetings too. We also know that at Forest Lake, however, a lot of their square footage is covered by a courtyard that was covered to become a mechanical room. And so size-wise, they're not comparable in the number of classrooms that they have, even though their footprint is similar in square footage. So just want to make sure that we address that with the public. We know that there'll be approximately 500 students. As Dr. Massey showed, we've seen that in the past at that building, but what we wanted to do with Krause-Anderson over the summer was really look at the building with what we have now. We have reading and math core, we have different title programs. What does it look like today, and what educational needs, special education and other areas are in the building that we need to accommodate for? So we took over 2 months this summer just looking over the footprint. We know that this is not the exact model where it says grade 1, that's not the exact grade 1 classrooms. We're just making sure that everything is accounted for in the map. And so you can see up there that we were able to do that with each one of the areas. And I'm going to turn it over to Scott to talk a little bit more about the classrooms.
Thanks for having me. Just one thing really quickly. I know Dr. Massey and I, in meeting over the past few weeks, he's spoken about the 500 students. And when you look back at 2014, and the amount of kids that we had at Forest View, I was like, there's no way that we had that many students there. And so I got really technical and I found the yearbook. And we in fact did have 557 students in 2014. We had 7 sections of kindergarten. We had 6 sections of first grade, 6 sections of second, and 7 sections of third grade. So we had 26 sections back in 2014. So if you look at this new map, you'll see that they're color-coded for kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. There's 4 sections of each grade level that you'll see up on that map, including a preschool section. We'll have 25 sections or 25 classrooms. So we did have more sections in 2014, so it's pretty amazing. So you were correct.
Yeah, our admin team self-corrects the superintendent.
I had to go back to the yearbook. But yeah, we have done a lot of work. Krause-Anderson did great work. You'll see the color coding for grade levels. Obviously, Ms. Stegmeyer and I have an email ready to go out tomorrow if this were to pass. We're going to be looking for a team to get together and talk about different things. But along with the grade level classrooms, we also have a couple spaces available. Let's say we have a big kindergarten group that's going to move in, or we have a certain grade level where we'll have students move in during the year. We'll be able to adjust, and we'll have a few extra spaces for that as well. What Dr. Massey spoke about too, with PE and music and media and art, we'll have spaces for them, we'll have spaces for counselors, and we'll also have spaces for special education teachers as well. So I'd like to turn that over to Ms. Wilson.
And as the mic is shifting here, I would point out, if this is not evident to you, that current 6th graders at Forest Lake Elementary naturally move to the middle school. They'll be 7th graders next year. 5th graders now move to the middle school. We will reduce the number of elementary schools through this consolidation, impacting 1 grade level, and that's 4th grade. We understand that that's That's a change for them. We're ready for that, we'll support them. But they're gonna go 200, 300 yards to the south, to the school they came from last year, and be integrated back into a school with staff that they're familiar with, Mr. Ernest that they're familiar with, and we'll spend the year planning for that.
All right, so thank you for having me here as well, and I did a little dating back beyond 2014 because I was curious. So I started in the district in 2001 at Forest View when the numbers were well over 500, and looked at the case managers that were there back in 2001 is similar to, actually it's exactly the same right now as the case managers that are there right now. And we fit in that same exact building back from 2001 when we were well over 500 people. Or students. So just thinking about the program also for special education, I feel like we're a bit at an advantage in special ed because this is analysis that we do every single year, looking at our students, our student needs, and where their needs can best be met. Each spring, Sarah Heckel, myself, who's the special ed coordinator, myself, meet with the elementary principals to talk about our students with the most significant needs who are in a center-based program, which means that they have 60% or more of their school day is receiving special education services, requires a high level of unique instruction, and where their needs can best be met. We look at where their home school would be, and if they're being bused into a central location or back at their home building. So that analysis is done every spring, which we'll continue to do that this coming spring. Not having the 5th and 6th graders in that mix, as well as looking at our early childhood students that are coming into kindergarten where they may be best served. In addition, we will have the continued support for our students who receive a lower level of support with coming in and out of what we would call the resource room, where they might get help with reading, math, or social emotional skills. So the analysis, we will continue to utilize a process that we have for several years, looking at caseloads for our teachers, as well as where the students are served and how that can best be met, and then knowing that we have the space within Forest View to meet those needs.
In a building consolidation, we also are going to see some cost savings that go along with that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the general fund that we're looking at. And so we're also going to see savings in our community education fund and also in our food service fund. But for now, we're going to talk about the general fund. So we know that we'll have administrative, custodial, and clerical reductions. We do just want to make sure that employees know that within collective bargaining agreements, there are provisions that allow for staff that are currently in those buildings to be placed elsewhere. And also open positions within the district. We're always evaluating what we can do to make sure that employees within the district will be reassigned within the district and have those jobs available to them. So that is a process that we're well aware of and we'll work through as we go through if the proposal is approved. We have a reduction in the utility costs. So again, for the first year at least, we will be looking to put the building and what we call mothballing. So having the utilities reduced down for that time period. The anticipated savings is about $750,000 that we can see annually, and that really helps in the overall budget and what we have to cut on an annual basis due to declining enrollment. And we also, over the summer, created a list of areas that we could consider leasing. Forest Lake Elementary, there might be spaces from Pine Tech to an intermediate district to some other areas that might be interested in using the space. Also, future programming for our own district. So we know Hazel Reinhardt's study is showing growth in a lot of different areas. There's always the high and low areas and where we're going to land in the middle of that. And so just having the space available if we had any specialized program that we wanted to put in there in the future is a great asset to the district. It also plays into our long-term facility maintenance. Again, the age and square footage of the buildings, making sure to retain that ability to upkeep our buildings with those funds is really important. So again, just an overview of what we anticipate for the consolidation and then Forest Lake Elementary.
And I would point out that in 2018, if my dates are right, we had Montessori, and Montessori is a program that we closed at that time. We also have reduced the footprint of the Central Learning Center building by almost 2/3. So in terms of reducing operational costs, programmatic shifts in programs that we support and operate to adjust for enrollment over time, those are additional reductions and savings that we have brought into our system over the last number of years.
Can I ask a question now, since we're on this subject, or do you want to wait? Okay. Chrissy, when you talk about the laying it up, I come, to my mind, I'm thinking of other uses for the building. And I'm just wondering what the possibility would be to heat certain sections or have certain sections open at specific times of the year. One of the things that comes to my mind would be if this building were to be empty for a year or two, however long it might be, even just a portion of it, it would be a fantastic space to have law enforcement come in and do some sort of training about how to handle school shooting issues or those types of things. Or another thing, being a parent of youth sports, baseball is always looking for spots when it's raining out to have practices or tryouts, or other sports looking, and we don't have a map of Forest Lake here, but I'm assuming you have 2 gyms, correct?
A gym and a cafeteria.
And a cafeteria. But space is available, say that if baseball wanted to come in and have a practice because it's rainy, and because right now my son practiced at NLA a lot this spring. Just thinking of what would be the ability of the school to open up certain sections of it to at least get use out of it and bring in a little bit of revenue possibly.
So that conversation has already started. So we work with ISG as our engineer firm, and they do our commissioning on our HVAC systems. And part of that commissioning allows us to start to dive into that. Sorry. No, that's okay. So part of that commissioning allows us to start to dig into that question of what would it be efficient enough in one area to just heat that and be able to run the water and things in that area and still have it be a cost savings. So we've asked them to do the analysis on that, because we're also talking summer school and other areas that, again, if we could house summer school in that building and not have it affect our deep clean that we do for our custodians and everything. So we've asked ISG to go through the building with their commissioning expert, Ron, who I think you might have met at Buildings and Grounds, and go through that building and see if that would be a possibility or not. So again, that HVAC system is newer, which is great, done part of the 2015 bond. That was a great gift from our community. And so again, looking for if that's possible or if we lose the efficiency in that. So
I just wanted to put it on the radar, especially like for youth athletics. They're always looking for spaces to put that on the radar, at least a possible use for it.
sounds great. Thank you.
As we move forward, I don't want us to lose sight of the rich tradition that Forest Lake Elementary has meant to this district. The building constructed and opened in 1958. It's one of our oldest elementary schools. When we think of 66 years of operating as an elementary school, if we had 400 students each year, give or take, approximately 25,000 students were educated and got their formative education in that building by a talented group of educators over all those years. So I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that, we acknowledge that, we celebrate that, and honor the amazing work that happened inside the walls of that school. And as we just discussed, the building will remain an asset to the Forest Lake Area School District, and the future uses will be determined as we move forward. So we have a similar identified timeline here with the, I've added the public hearing, which is a statutory requirement when a school closes. That was held on September 23rd. So we held that meeting. We had several community members there. 2 spoke at that meeting. And then we have tonight, October 3rd, with your board action. And then, as Mr. Principal Ernest indicated, along with Ms. Stegmeyer from Forest Lake Elementary, bringing a team together from both of those schools to address some of the transitional needs and programmatic development needs moving into next year. And that'll begin right away in the next week or 2. And then we get into our staffing work and then the transition work with students. classroom assignments and all the things that go with the startup of the school. And with that, administration would recommend that the school board move forward with the consolidation of Forest Lake and Forest View Elementary into the Forest View Elementary School building.
So I have a resolution for closing Forest Lake Elementary School, whereas a public hearing was held on September 23rd, 2024 on the proposed closing of Forest Lake Elementary School. Whereas during this hearing, people wishing to give testimony for and against the proposed closing were heard, and such testimony was considered by the school board. Whereas published notice of this hearing was given in compliance with Minnesota Statute Section 123B.51 and Subdivision 5. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 831 as follows. The attached findings and conclusions regarding the closing of Forest Lake Elementary School are hereby adopted. The closing of Forest Lake Elementary School is necessary and practicable. Forest Lake Elementary School is closed effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. And at this time, the school board does not take any action with respect to the possible sale or disposition of Forest Lake Elementary School building or property.
Do we have a second? Discussion?
I just have a couple comments. I want to, first of all, thank Dr. Massey for acknowledging the rich tradition and the slide that we just had there. We, at the high school hearing, we had a member of the community speak really eloquently. Her children had gone there, and I think maybe even her husband, I don't recall.
Yes.
Jennifer Tolsman, yeah. And she spoke very eloquently about what the school had meant to her and understood the process, but wanted to be sure that it was handled with dignity and respect. And so thank you for bringing that up. And I also want to thank everyone here, Director Rumber-Heidi. I mean, there's been so much homework, so much behind the scenes work. Mr. Ernest, Mrs. Stigmer, so much work on this. And so it just, I mean, to me, it just really makes sense. And importantly, it preserves our community schools. I mean, Dr. Massey said so many times, what is, Columbus without their elementary school? What is Candy without their elementary school? So I guess if it had to come to this is a great sort of compromise, if that's the word. So I really appreciate that. And I also just want to say the previous of bringing the 6th grade in the middle school, at least for me anyway, I didn't really receive any emails or public questioning or concerns to any degree that I received about the middle. I only received 5 emails about the middle school, but I don't think I received any on consolidating the schools. So I think it's been presented very well. The information is straightforward, and so thank you for that.
Okay, so emotionally, yeah, this was my elementary school for over 15 years. My kids all went through the schools. Forest Lake, I want to thank the staff. I mean, it was a great school. They had a great education, caring staff. Still friends to this day of many educators that were at that school. So I do appreciate preserving a school in the heart of Forest Lake. I think that is key for the future success of our district, and it is really important to have an elementary in each area of each of our cities. Yes, I said I think I had a harder time at the parent meeting than anybody there because it meant a lot to me. I PTA lady in kindergarten and all the way through, and then PTA president at the end. But it's a great school. I've seen it change so much over the years and grow and staffing but I understand, and I think it's a way that we can manage our budget, which the other outcome is not a good thing to have to reduce that out of our budget in a worse way with our staffing. That would be really hard for us. So I think it's a way to do it as easy as possible, and I look forward to what we can do with that school. I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of creative ideas, but I like the Pine Tech idea, and also, who knows, a magnet school in the future. I mean, I think an art school or something with the arts, fine arts, might be a really good possibility for the future. So I think that we'll think long and hard and see what the community needs and what the students need. So, but yeah, thank you for handling it so well and addressing everyone's concerns. And like I said, I didn't hear a lot about this part of it, but I just wanted to address it a little bit to thank everybody.
We just made a really huge decision with 8.2. Consequential, it's going to change the trajectory of our district for quite some time. That was big. This is bigger. I look out at the faces here tonight. I see parents, I see staff members. This is going to affect a lot of staff members. I see our newly hired principal. This is not only changing the trajectory of our district, this is changing the lives of our staff. This is a massive decision, and I think we owe it to our staff, we owe it to our students, we owe it to our community to get this right and have full board representation here tonight for this fall. So for that reason, I move to table this until the earliest opportunity where we can have full board representation here for the fall.
All right, I gotta look.
That'd be an amendment to the resolution.
No, it's a table. And I don't know if there's any discussion on the table. So give me a second, I'll look at. Second, it's not debatable, and it needs a majority. So, all in favor of tabling the motion or the resolution?
Ask for a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Just take a roll call vote, and what we're voting on is, if you vote yes, you are interested in tabling this motion, resolution. If you vote no, you are not in favor of that. Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Okay, Member Rayfield?
No.
Member Christensen votes no. Member Tyson is absent. Member Ebeline?
Aye.
Member Corcoran?
No.
Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
No.
Okay. Continue our discussion. I would just say, for me, as my kids have gone through this school district, I just love the feel of the community schools, and I think it's really important that we recognize that Forest Lake, Forest View are part of that community school, and for us to be able to keep that community school there, I think is just really important. And we have less students, right? I mean, we have less students, and so we have less money coming in. And the thing I've talked to Steve about, or Dr. Massey about over and over and over again, is that we need to be able to reduce our spending in a way that keeps our academic achievement up, doesn't tear up the community, but makes reasonable, smart adjustments to the way we do business. And I think this nails it, right? I think it's hard to close a school, but on the other hand, it's a reasonable adjustment to having less students. And so I'm supporting it. And I too got a little teary with Jennifer Tolzman's talk about that school and the legacy it had. And it was beautiful to kind of think about that, think about all the kids who made their home there and the parents that watched them move through it. And so we have that in our hearts as we make this decision. Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that, in the grand scheme of things, being fiscally responsible and closing the building that obviously we've demonstrated is not needed. It's just the financially responsible thing to do with taxpayer money. And so it's interesting to me other people's position on this, but I'm going to support it.
All right, any further discussion? If not, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Yes. Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Tyson is absent. Member Eveline?
Aye.
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Hagelin?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. 8.5, award middle school. You guys are dismissed. You don't have to sit down.
Scott's gonna talk about the serving lines.
8.5, award middle school serving line bid. You're staying.
I'm staying. Thank you. So about a month ago, we brought to you the proposal. You gave us permission to go out and bid to get the best pricing available for our serving lines at the middle school. And so we were able to open those bids this morning at 10 a.m. and we were very pleasantly surprised. As you know, bid law comes in at $175,000 and our bid was actually under that. So whenever you're on the cusp of if you're thinking it's going to go over or not, which we were thinking it would, you always want to bid to make sure that you're within the regulations, and luckily it went under. So Voltaire is the company. It's $165,634.43. So again, very pleasantly surprised. We did have 4 bids. You can see on the second page of this, each one of the bids outlined, and those are from the 4 major companies that work in the Midwest that supply serving lines. So we got the big 4 to bid on us, which is really great, and again, great pricing at that 165 mark. With that, administration would recommend approval.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Questions, comments? Yeah.
I just have one question. We just made a big shift to our middle school.
Correct.
Is that accounted for in this bid?
So it will work both ways. As we discussed earlier, we currently have 3 lunches with more kids in them, and so the 5 lunches will accommodate this perfectly. So
Even with the, so this has nothing to do with the influx of students?
it does not. No, because the lunches, will be similar or smaller even, so it's perfect.
Thank
And
you.
it's all about the turnover. We'll have 1 lunch.
Yep.
Staff will turn it over using the same equipment, and the time is factored in for that turnover from
Yep.
1 lunch period.
And they were on the docket. So again, it's not about Reimagine, it's on when the serving lines come up for each building. And this was their year to get the new serving lines. So, yes.
Go ahead.
What is the useful life of
Oh,
these? I mean, so what you're replacing, how long has it been in service? How long do you expect these to be in service?
I would probably say, you could say safely 10 years to maybe 12, 15 years. These have been around at least that, if not 20. So they're very, we have used, they've served their useful life very well.
All right, any further discussion? If not, please take a roll call.
Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Tyson is absent. Member Eveline?
Aye.
Member Corcoran? Aye. The ayes have it.
All right, thank you. 9.1, first reading of the Special Education Records and Records Retention Policy 505A.
This policy has been developed in recognition of the very different nature of the records public school districts generate in the normal course of educating their special students on an IEP, and to ensure consistency in the maintenance and retention of this information. This policy then would supplement, but does not replace Policy 505, which is the use of student records. The updated recommended change here would be on item number 9 on page 2 of the policy. Striking the language you see there and replacing that with the language that states, while the annual review dates remain the same, each case manager must note the date on which the draft of the IEP was drafted.
All right, thank you. 9.2, first reading of the Title 9 Sex Non-Discrimination Policy, Grievance Procedure and Process Policy 510.
Director Friedman, who oversees the policy committee, has a deep knowledge of the ongoing
Which we will not get into tonight.
modifications of Title IX. So I've asked her to speak
very briefly, as tonight is a first reading, and you all have done a lot of work so far this evening. This policy is a complete wipeout and replacement of what we have in place right now. However, it is extremely similar to what we have in place right now. You may recall that we just did a complete wipeout and replacement right at the end of the summertime. We did that because the federal requirements as to how a school authority is to go about investigating claims, allegations of sexual harassment or discrimination in an education program have changed drastically from what we were given 4 years ago. They changed drastically then, they're changing drastically again now. This current incarnation, both what we have in place as well as the prospective replacement, is immensely better for students. We can talk about that for a long time, and we won't. But the reason we did the interim replacement is because we knew we needed to start the school year with the requirements that were so much less onerous for students. But we did not have the model policy and the School Boards Association and others doing their work just quite yet. So we in conjunction with our attorneys and other administration, put together that interim thing. You will find a great deal of similarity if you dig into those two things. But what you have in front of you is largely what has now been developed through MSBA channels as a model policy. So it's a lot easier to navigate than what we came up with in the interim.
And primarily related, Director Friedman, to the investigative procedures.
It's the investigative procedures. That's what the changes are from the before. Okay, so it's the investigative procedures that we replaced at the end of summertime could easily take 4 months. This can still be done with fidelity and can be done in some circumstances in a handful of days.
Thank you. And 9.3, first reading, recommendation to approve AP seminar as an option for meeting the English requirements in grade 10.
Thank you, Member Chair, Dr. Massey, other members of the board. Driven by our strategic plan in the area of excellence in career, college, and future preparedness, the high school has continued to look for ways to raise the level of rigor and access to courses that provide opportunities for earning both high school and college credit while they're here in our system. And several years ago, the English department, in partnership with administration, recommended the addition of 2 new courses, AP Seminar and AP Research. And they now are courses that exist in our course catalog and are available to students in our system. Recently, AP Seminar has been opened up as an option to be taken not only as an elective, but as a replacement course option for students who would want to take that as their course for English 10. So this would be, AP Seminar would be an option, not a requirement, an option for students who really want to take more AP courses that could take that course in lieu of English 10 if they so choose. We see it as a great opportunity to offer to our students who could then take the course, which is a pretty rigorous course. If they're getting ready to have a lot of coursework at the college level that will involve debate and discourse and writing and research, that this course would really push them in that area. And if they take the course and then pass the AP course exam at the end, could earn college credit as well while they're in our system. Again, providing a financial asset or financial benefits for those students as they go into college and for their families. So no action tonight, but instead really what the proposal here would be to allow students to take AP Seminar in 10th grade in lieu of English 10. We could still, it wouldn't eliminate somebody who chose to take English 10 and then AP Seminar later as an elective, but it's essentially creating that opportunity, thus creating opportunities for students to take other electives in lieu of this one, so.
Can you speak to the financial cost or impact of a course like this?
There's really no financial impact to the school district. Instead, what it does is kids who take the course, pass the exam at a 3 or higher. Some universities require a 4 or higher. Then those, when they enter college, those students automatically have an English credit that they can start that allows them to not have to pay for that once they're at the college level.
Aside from adoption of a textbook or instructional resources, there's no staffing impact because it's
Yes.
replacing another course.
Yes, thank you, yep.
All right, thank you. And with that, be sure to review our upcoming calendar dates. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks, everyone.